hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Sophie. Today I wanted to talk about some of the facts and reality of what life is kind of like after being diagnosed with gastroparesis slash living with gastroparesis. And it's not to be doom and gloom, it's more because if you've just been diagnosed, maybe you're feeling very lost. I remember that's kind of how I felt. Like, I had no idea what was coming my way, and to be honest, I would have preferred to know this stuff was coming and kind of expect it, rather than it just be thrown on me and then feel like, oh my god, this is scary, this sucks, or this isn't good, or this isn't great, when actually some things may seem really bad at first, but actually they are for the good. Or if you haven't got gastroparesis, maybe you know someone that does, or you're just interested in gastroparesis and what life is like with that. So before we get into the video, that being said, that was like the world's longest intro. If you're not already, please press that subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, and come along for the journey. If you haven't already, like this video by pressing the thumbs up button, and leave a comment below if you have gastroparesis or your experiences of gastroparesis. Let's have a little community going on here. So anyway, let's go on into the video. So for anyone that doesn't actually know what gastroparesis is literally the paralysis of your stomach. So your body can't digest food the way it's supposed to. Maybe it's doing it a little bit too slow, or maybe it's not doing it at all. Obviously there's different spectrums, but essentially that is what it is. It can't digest your food, and we all need food in life. If you want to know like a full in-depth detailed version of what gastroparesis is and some facts about gastroparesis, I have done a video on my channel, so I will link that below, or on here, or somewhere, we'll see, but I'll link that below so you can go and watch that. This is just a very brief description, obviously. The first and probably one of the biggest things that I have noticed that gastroparesis has done with my life, and some of it's good and part of it's not so great, but is the anxiety or the feelings that I get around food or food situations. Obviously, especially when you're in a flare-up, being around food is going to be really hard because you may still feel hungry and you can't really do much about it, or if you do, you know you're going to get some sort of consequence, but you don't always know what. And sometimes the not knowing what can cause the anxiety rather than, I guess, the food. Is more the anxiety of what will happen, but ultimately that is because of food, if that makes sense. Like, I go through phases and it's usually kind of going with my flare-ups. If I'm in a flare-up, I tend to be very anxious around food. For example, family dinners. When I'm not in a flare-up, although they're never comfortable situations, I can deal with them. When I'm in a flare-up, I get very anxious to the point where I have avoided them. And I'm better at not avoiding it so much now, although, don't get me wrong, still do. You kind of become uncomfortable around it because if you're not eating, you're that person that's just sitting watching everyone eat. But if you do eat, you never know what's going to come after. Are you going to be running to the toilet? Are you going to be unable to move because you're in pain? Are you going to get both? Are you just going to feel really unwell? Are you going to pass out? Like, is the rest of your evening going to be ruined? You don't know what's coming, and so that just causes a lot of anxiety around food. However, it has definitely improved my knowledge on nutrition and made me attempt to try and eat the right things now. Not always, but now. But yeah, so like there's good and bad, because like I know a lot more about nutrition now, and to me that's a good thing. But there is the anxiety thing, which is obviously a major thing. If you want to know what kind of foods I have been told by nutritionists are better for gastroparesis, I did do a video on that as well, so be sure to go and find that. The next one is feeding tubes. I feel like anyone that I know that has gastroparesis at some point has been on some form of feeding tube. I feel like, especially because the process to diagnose it is so long, because doctors, and also until now it's not been so well known. It's getting better known now, but if you don't know much about it, you're not going to know which tests you're doing. So the diagnosis process, whoa, that's a mouthful, is quite tricky and long. So you end up going through periods where you just aren't eating enough and you're losing too much weight, you're becoming malnutrition, dehydrated, and you can't maybe even get medicines down you if you're throwing up all the time. So you've experienced feeding tubes at some point, and that is like a whole lifestyle change like by itself. Having a feeding tube is a massive lifestyle change. You get into a pattern that fits your routine, but your routine kind of gets moved around when you need to be on a feeding tube, when you need to do medicines, all of that kind of thing. So yeah, I would definitely say feeding tubes, but at the same time, although that can be seen as negative, it has definitely saved my life, and I'm sure many others. So without them, the condition would be a hell of a lot worse, and with them you may even just be able to get medications down that mean you stop throwing up as much. So although it might seem big and scary and oh my god I have a feeding tube and oh my god there's this tube through my body, it can save your life. The next one, and I guess this kind of realistically goes with any invisible illness, especially when you're young and you look healthy. I get this one a lot, and it is something that you have to deal with a lot. And people will often say, oh, you look really healthy, you look great, your weight is doing good, you look like you're keeping on weight, you've put on weight. And there's two sides of this. There's the one that really winds me up when people say, oh, you look great, you look really healthy, and it's like, yeah, I don't feel it. I'm not feeling so peachy. I haven't eaten properly in a week. The last proper meal I had was 2 weeks ago. I've barely been able to even graze at stuff today. I've barely been able to get any fluids down today. But yeah, I'm great at looking fabulous and faking it. Fake it till you make it. I have become great at faking it, but doesn't always work in your favour, because then you look healthy and people don't take you seriously, or they think that you're in a good phase when actually you could be in a flare-up. You just happen to have put makeup on or done your hair or something like that. And then there's this side of people always commenting on your weight. And don't get me wrong, when I was growing up, like, I never had any even this momentary thoughts about what my weight was doing. I was always quite sporty, so I was always quite small and anything, but like I never thought about it. And obviously when you're losing weight, gaining weight, medication's making you gain weight or lose weight, or you're eating badly so you're losing weight, blah blah blah, like your weight's here, there and everywhere, that people do comment on it, whether it's doctors, whether it is friends, family, and it's not necessarily said in a malicious way, but it is commented on a lot. And when it's commented on a lot in this day and age, you can't help but go, oh, I'm at the heaviest I've ever been, or ooh, I'm at my lightest, I must be really unwell. And it like plays with your head so in such, it does play with your head. And it can be really hard at times to not go, wow, I'm looking really fat today. Because another thing gastroparesis does is it bloats your stomach and it makes you bloated. So then you look like you've put on even more weight and you're like, how is this even possible? How can I not fit into my jeans when I've not even been eating? And it could be really easy to then end up going into the eating disorders in terms of anorexia, bulimia. Well, I mean, you might be throwing up anyway, but it's easy to like mentally get into those places because it's something that is always being commented on. It's being noted by doctors what your weight's doing. Medications can have these effects of putting on weight, making you not be able to put on weight. That it is something that can constantly be in your mind. Then you also get the comments of, oh, my god, I'm starving, I haven't eaten since breakfast, and you're like, I haven't eaten since last week, what's your point? Also comments that you're gonna get wound up by a lot, which you probably never would have in the past. Just gonna put that out there. But just remember, they haven't experienced what you have, and they can't understand that, and also your body does adjust. When I'm having a good phase and I can eat, not properly, but like I can eat a relatively okay amount on a daily basis, maybe not proper meals, but I can snack a lot more throughout the day and have 2 or 3 dinners a week rather than maybe 1 if I'm lucky, versus when I do have flare-ups and I'm barely eating anything in a day, like I'm barely grazing, I notice how my body's already adjusted to having that nutrition, so that when it doesn't, it's kind of readjusting to dealing with not having it. So when you have gastroparesis, your body adapts to that a bit easier, and you definitely adapt to not having so much food or having it as regularly, whereas if you're used to having it more regularly in a day, that's what you're used to and that's what your body feels like it needs. So you can see where it's, again, not maliciously said, but they are going to be comments that wind you up. So I was going to talk about weight gain and weight loss and the mentality of that, but I kind of already touched on that, so I'm not going to go into that again. So the last one that I am going to talk about, which there's so many more, but this video would be years long, so this is the last one I'm going to talk about, is your friend circle and your activity circle of things to do is going to change. And it's not for the it's not for the worst. Like, knowing who your true friends are is a really good thing. And although at the time of it happening, when you're losing friends as I'm saying it, it feels like the worst thing in the world. It feels like people don't want to know you, like you're going to be on your own forever, blah blah blah, which 100% I've been there. I've thought I'm going to be alone, I'm never going to find a boyfriend, I'm never going to find friends that want to hang out with me anymore. I've been there, and still sometimes you can have those thoughts, but it's better to know who your true friends are and have a group of 3, 4, 5 people than have 20 people but actually none of them really there for you, none of them really got your back. It's better to have a few people that have your back than to have loads of people and then when you need them, actually you have no one. So I'm actually that's probably one of the things I am most grateful for through having all my health problems, is I have really been able to pick out who my real friends are, who, even in your family, who are the people you can actually count on to be there for you, to support you, take you to hospital appointments, pick up medications if you need to. Friends who will actually happily sit in if you don't feel well enough to go out, or understand that you're cancelling because you're not feeling well, not because you just want to cancel. Like, all of those kind of things, I would imagine is hard for your friends, because just as you're going through all of these changes, your friends are as well. If you weren't born with this, or you didn't know them, you knew them before all of this happened. So like, some of the people that are in my life now have only known me with this. They've only known me with it. So this to them is me. They've become friends with me knowing all of this. They've taken this on. This isn't something that has suddenly happened, that they've also been thrown. But one of my best friends, who you guys would have seen on vlogs, Chloe, she was my best friend long before all of this happened. And she's stuck it out with me, and yeah, we've had good, we've had bad, but like, she's been a true friend. Like, she's been there. She's gone through all those changes with me. That's the kind of friend that I would rather have than the kind of friend that go, well, I want to go out. And I'm like, well, I don't feel like I'm well enough to go out. And they're like, well, I'm going out. See ya. Like, those are people you don't want. So if they're the ones that are now revealing themselves and walking away, is that a loss? I would say not. I would say I would quite happily see them walk away, not look back, because I would rather have people that are there for me just as I'm going to be there for them. So your friend circle will change. My activities that I do now are very different, some because of other conditions, but obviously going out for dinners, I don't really do them very often, and when I do, there is a lot of anxiety around them, and I have to be with someone that I 100% trust will help me after. Anything with food is the last thing I want to be doing during a flare up. And that kind of all links in with when you're in that flare up and you're not happy doing certain activities, will your friends abandon you, or will they actually be there? All of that changes. Some of it stays the same, and really you see who's there for you. And honestly, I have made some amazing friendships through it. People with gastroparesis, with some of the other conditions that I have, or people that I've met after that are fully on board, want to learn about it, want to do anything they can to help, all of that kind of thing. So actually this is like probably the best thing that has come out of having gastroparesis. Anyway, I could literally go on forever about life with gastroparesis, like what it's done and other conditions and stuff, but I thought I would just talk about the main ones. Maybe I'll do another part 2 video and do some other things that I have found have been a change in in my life since gastroparesis. If that's something you want, let me know in the comments below. If you have any videos around gastroparesis, if you're new to gastroparesis, if someone you know has gastroparesis, if it's just something you're interested with, maybe you're a doctor and you want a patient's point of view, like anything, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I want to do more videos on gastroparesis, because although my gastroparesis is caused from my EDS and small nerve fibre issues, it was the first thing I was diagnosed with, and it's probably one of the biggest things to actually affect me on a daily basis. So I do want to do more videos on gastroparesis, and I would love to know what kind of videos you want to see on gastroparesis, because there's obviously so many different conversations and topics around gastroparesis. So let me know which ones you want in the comments below. If you like this video, or you learned anything, or you feel less alone now, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm sure you want to see your girl when she uploads a video. That was weird, I know. No one said that I'm not weird anymore. 100% weird. But I'm feeling it. So yeah, I think that just about covers everything. Until next time, keep watching, stay strong and stay safe. Bye guys.